This podcast episode is brought to you by my Business Basics class. I teach you the 8 essential steps to get your business legal and legit so you can watch it bloom. You'll learn the basics of what is an LLC and the first steps to opening one up, opening a business bank account, how to find an accountant, what is bookkeeping and how can you do it yourself to save some money, what contracts and legal documents to consider and where you can buy them, the starting point for saving for your retirement, how to find a financial advisor, and where to start looking for business insurance. When you avoid getting all these ducks in a row, you are risking getting sued, paying more in taxes, and missing out on turning your income into more money. Head to jessicawhitaker.co/businessbasics to enroll. Hey photographer, Jessica Whitaker here. Welcome to the Build and Bloom Photography Podcast. This week, I am going to be talking about pricing, which is the most popular topic amongst my Build and Bloom community over on Facebook. And by the way, I haven't mentioned this in a while on the podcast. If you're a photographer and you're looking to join a kind, encouraging, and inclusive photography community, check out the Build and Bloom Facebook group. It's the best place to ask questions about your specific photography business. So whether you need help drafting a response to a difficult client situation, or you just want an extra set of eyes on a gallery before you send it out, Build and Bloom is my best free resource, and you can find it over on Facebook groups. And if you are a woman in photography and you are in the Seattle-Tacoma area, every single month I host a free networking group, and I would love to see you there. Just send me a DM over on Instagram at Jessica Whitaker. With this podcast episode, I have a freebie. It's a PDF guide on ways to know if you're ready to raise your prices. We're going to be touching on a couple of points here, but if you want to grab that freebie, it will be linked in the description box below of this episode, wherever you are listening. And by the way, if you are a returning listener, will you go and rate and review this podcast over on Spotify, 5 stars, and leave a review over on Apple? This helps push out the podcast into the algorithm so that other photographers can get this free resource on their radar. Let's dive in and talk about a few key things you need to know so that you can confidently raise your prices without overthinking or second guessing your worth. And with these strategies, it will help position you to be the photographer that your ideal client wants to hire. The first step in raising your prices is knowing your worth and the value of your work. It's not just about how many years you've been shooting or how great your camera is. It's about understanding the value that you are bringing to your clients with your portraits. When you truly believe the results that you deliver and the experience that you create, it becomes so much easier to raise your prices with confidence. But here's the thing. So knowing your worth has become kind of a buzzword or buzz phrase, for lack of a better word. And honestly, it can feel pretty ambiguous. It's easy to say, I know my worth, and I hope that you do, but how do we measure it in a business sense for our photography? You can't just rely on your own bias and feelings about yourself to truly understand your work. You need real data to back it up. And this goes in a positive way of having a bias to yourself and a negative way. There's so many people out there who are struggling to see the value in their photography and feel good about what they're doing. There's so many of us that struggle with imposter syndrome. I believe that seeing these numbers and having this knowledge and education and growing your skill set that we're going to talk about in a second can boost up your confidence and help you realize your photos are worth a price tag, and that price tag might be a little bit higher than what you're charging. And on the other side of the coin, having a bias against yourself can sometimes be where you are actually your own roadblock. You have pride that doesn't allow you to see the areas that you need to improve so that you can grow your business. Let's get into the data of how to actually measure the value of your work. Number one is figuring out your cost of doing business. And this is something that is very boring and a lot of us haven't actually officially done. You might know that your Adobe subscription costs $10 a month and your aftershoot subscription costs $20, and I need to get insurance and that's going to be an extra $40. And I know I have a couple other apps I use on my phone for my business. I probably spend about $300 a month on my business, but it's a little bit of a wash because sometimes I get a discount and sometimes I do do a trade, until we actually sit down and see how much is going out of our bank account for our business expenses. We don't know the cost of doing business. So I do have a free resource. I've been teaching photography online for 10 years. So I have a resource for this, of course, as I do most things. You can go to jessicawhitaker.co/free budget. It'll be linked down below as well. This is an amazing budget spreadsheet calculator that I have created that also can help you determine your cost of doing business. And there's even a tab for how much you need to be setting aside for taxes. And again, it's totally free. It's jessicawhitaker.co/free budget. And in this spreadsheet, you are going to be putting down all of your fixed expenses and then your monthly expenses. So for example, you'd put in how much you spent on your camera, your lighting, maybe if you're part of a studio rental share, you're going to put that information in there, and then your reoccurring subscription bills. Put everything in there. And this can get tricky if you don't have a business bank account set up. And I recommend to get one set up if you have an LLC, you have an EIN, and you can open up a business bank account, even if you're doing photography part-time and you feel like you're not quite there where, do I really need an official bank account? Yes. This way you can start having all of your business expenses be separated from your personal income and like assets. And as you grow your business, you're going to just be using your bank account even more. It's very easy to set up, but you might need to go in person to a bank. And if opening up a business bank account is just one of many things on your to-do list to get your business legal and legit, you can go to jessicawhitaker.co/business basics. I teach the 8 essential steps to get your business legal and legit in under 45 minutes. I have helped hundreds of photographers over the last 5 years with this program, and it's $99. In the same vein of cost of doing business, we need to track your hours that you are working. So how many hours are you putting into an entire shoot? And of course, we can all guesstimate, but you need to be tracking this. And I encourage you to do it over the next 4 photo shoots you do. You need to know how much time does it take for you to prepare for your photo shoot. So that's like the initial consult call. That's going to be all of the emails that you're writing. And then when you are driving to the photo shoot itself, when you're coming home, importing your photos, all of that, and of course editing, and even uploading those files. All of these things are critical so that you can determine how many hours are you putting into a photo shoot. It's going to be more than you think. These are critical questions because without this kind of data, your pricing might not accurately reflect the true cost of your time and your efforts. Now that we've got more of the data in place, let's talk about these more ambiguous ideas. Beyond just the numbers, you need to measure the value of your work. And I cannot emphasize this enough. This is not about comparing your work to other photographers either in your area or in your country that have a similar style and aesthetic to you. This is not measuring yourself up against anyone else. This is about refining your skills and constantly improving. You need to assess your work objectively, which can be hard to do. So if you struggle with this, you need to seek out a mentor. Do not ask somebody in your peer group who is at the same level or even a little bit slightly more advanced than you. You want to seek out a mentor who has years on you. And there are so many Facebook groups. You can even ask in the Build and Bloom group, upload some of your work and ask, how can I improve it? But if you go to a friend, they're going to have a bias. If you go to your family, they're going to have a bias. And if you go to a photographer friend and you guys are kind of in the same stage of your business, they're not going to be able to give you the feedback that you need. You need to ask yourself, are your poses that you're putting your client into flattering? Is the lighting spot on? Is the client experience seamless from start to finish? And so many of us have things that we can improve, myself included, in our workflow, but we have to actually implement it. And so once you have all of this data about your cost of doing business, how long it takes for you to do a photo shoot, and also feedback on your work, you'll have a better understanding of where you stand with your photography and your business. Then you can confidently start adjusting your pricing because you know exactly the value you're offering and why you deserve to charge more. Before we move on, I want to go back to this point and dive in a little bit more. You need to look at your work from an objective perspective. And again, you might need to have somebody else, like a third party, like a mentor, come in and help you. But are there areas in your portfolio that need improvement? So for example, posing. I want you to reflect on how you're posing your client. Go over to my YouTube channel. It's my first and last name, youtube.com/Jessica Whitaker. And I have dozens upon dozens of posing videos. And I even have videos for specific body parts. I have tutorials on how to pose the hands, how to pose the legs, how to pose in a skirt or a dress. I even have a video on how to pose when a client is sitting. And I really recommend for you to watch these posing videos. There might be some areas off the top of your head that you know you can refine your technique. When a client doesn't recognize themselves in the photos and when they feel like it's unflattering, you're not going to have a happy client, and you can easily avoid the situation by knowing how to pose the jaw. But it's not just the jaw, it's not just the neck, it's also how the arm is positioned and the back. And all of these little things add up to a beautiful portrait. And like I said, I have so many posing videos over on my YouTube channel. This past weekend, when you guys are listening to this episode, it'll be 2 weekends ago, but every month I host a free networking group for women in photography in Seattle. And I did my first ever posing workshop, and it was like a demonstration style, and I just ran through all of my posing tips and tricks. It was totally free, and I had amazing feedback. And so many people were like shook to the core about these small little things that I do just naturally, but they're like, oh my gosh, I have literally spent thousands of dollars on a paid posing workshop. And they did not even talk about this or that. Like it was crazy. So if you want to learn how to pose to perfection and just create beautiful images, go to my YouTube channel and just start watching every posting video. You can learn something from every video there. Until you've mastered these details and feel confident in your posing, you might want to hold off on raising your prices. Mastering posing fundamentals ensures that when you do increase your rates, you're offering the highest quality to your clients, which makes it a smoother and more rewarding transition when you raise your prices. And when it comes to posing, it's also about the culling process and selecting what image is the most flattering. I have quite a few videos up on my YouTube for posing for movement. For example, when it comes to a couple photo, I love to give couples a prompt to run, and I'm going to spray and shoot. I'm going to take like 100 photos as they're running. And then when I go into my culling, I need to be able to look at my work from an objective standpoint and see which of all these 100 photos of them running is the most flattering. Once you've got the data, the numbers, and the skill set down, you can confidently raise your prices because you're not just guessing anymore about the value of your work. You're making an informed decision that is backed up by data and skill. Number 2 is creating packages that reflect your value. Huge mistake I see so many photographers make, myself included, especially early on, is over delivering. And I was still over delivering up until about 3 months ago when I transitioned to in-person sales in January. So when you are giving your clients too many images, it can feel so exciting at first for your client to open up a gallery and see over 100 photos. Let's be real. 300 photos. We've all been there, unfortunately. And if you haven't, okay, period. You're one step ahead of us all. It's so exciting and your client is living for it because there are so many photos to choose from, but then that becomes the problem. There's so many photos to choose from. Your client is overwhelmed by choice and decision fatigue sets in. The likeliness that they are going to do something with those photos other than post a handful immediately to social media, the likeliness of them printing those photos out and putting on a wall or creating an album or even just sharing photos over time, it's decreasing so much because it's just too much for them to go through and choose what photos they want to post. And also, over delivering can just hurt your business because, don't hate me when I say this, you guys understand if you're listening to the podcast, okay, I don't need so many disclaimers. I'm still nervous to say this, but sometimes over delivering hundreds of photos can water down the value of your work. Because if we even look at it from a math perspective, which I don't like to do because I'm not good at math, but if we were going to look at like, you're charging $600 for a photo shoot and you're delivering hundreds of photos. Okay, so now all of a sudden they're paying like 2 cents a photo. I know that's in extremes, but sometimes we need to speak in extremes. So instead, I want you to consider reducing the number of images that you offer in your packages. And this is going to be so hard at first. And this is something that gagged me to the bone when I was learning in-person sales. And someone's like, yeah, my packages are 10 photos for $2,000. I was like, what? I can't even charge $1,600 for like 75 photos in Seattle. What the heck? Oh, also, you guys, for those who don't know, in-person sales, also known as IPS, is when you're selling albums and wall art as a part of your photography. And that's kind of the main purpose, is people are purchasing photos for the frame. Even if you are not going to go into in-person sales, I recommend, this is going to be the best advice you hear right now on this episode. I recommend doing a 7-day trial of the portrait system. It's Sue Bryce's membership. I don't know off the top of my head how much it costs a month. I think I got it on sale for like $20 a month around Black Friday or something. I don't quite remember, but I started doing it in January. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Do the 7-day free trial, and I want you to search in the portrait system pricing. And I want you to watch all the videos on pricing, because her perspective will help you realize the value, the sentimental value of the portraits that you are delivering to your clients. And it will help you be able to scale back the amount of images you're delivering so that you can better serve your clients, so that they won't be overwhelmed with 100 photos, and most of which they won't even use. Instead, you'll be able to start to pare down the images to 10, 20, or 30 or 40 images, whatever it might be. But like I said, even if you're not interested in doing IPS, just do the portrait system 7-day free trial and watch the videos on pricing, and have an open mind about it, because it will help shift your perspective on the value of each individual photo. And then you'll realize like, oh, right, it is watering down my work when I'm delivering 200 photos for $400. I should just be delivering 10 beautiful portraits or whatever that number is for $400. All that being said, if there's anything that you do in the spring when you are looking at your packages and you're doing all of the math and the cost of doing business, I want you to also consider reducing the amount of images that you currently offer in your packages and stick to it. Do not over deliver. And it might sound counterintuitive, but when you offer fewer high quality images, you're giving clients exactly what they need and nothing more. It's not about quantity. It's about making sure that every image you give them is something that they will treasure forever, versus having hundreds of photos on a gallery that lives on their phone. And most of the photos in that gallery don't see the light of day, let alone up on their wall. And here's where the magic happens for those who want to start offering albums and prints with their work. When you reduce the number of images, you can add value in other ways. Consider adding something like a small album or prints or even a folio box in your packages. These are all incredibly valuable to clients. When they have a tangible result of your work, a physical product, and it's up on their wall, they will remember their experience with you. And when other people come through their home, that's a business card on their wall. Oh my gosh, who did those photos? Oh, it was so-and-so. Let me give you her info. If there's anything you're going to hear from this episode, it needs to be this. I know I've said that already like 5 times, but this is the real deal, okay? Don't be afraid to create a boundary around what you offer in your packages. You don't need to over-deliver. When you focus on fewer, more meaningful deliverables and adding in some of those premium perks like a complimentary album, you're elevating your business. It can help you at first if you need justification when you're raising your prices. It can help justify those higher rates and just overall give your clients a more memorable experience. I just did a mentoring call with somebody who was telling me about how she over delivers, and I was encouraging her, of course, to like stop over delivering. But some of the other like perks I was talking to her about is like then you're not behind the computer editing so many additional photos that like the client wasn't even like, they're not even paying for. Those photos are free, right? But it frees up your time so that, let's say it takes you 10 hours to do a photo shoot from start to finish, right? You've calculated and measured your hours, whatever. Instead of having like 10 hours, you can reduce it down, but you can also take some of that time that you spent editing all those photos that the client doesn't even know they're getting and is not paying for. You're working for free for yourself. Isn't the point of having your own business so that you can make additional income? Now you can take that time into doing other things for your client to prepare them for the photo shoot. And the biggest thing is doing a planning call. At my workshop that I taught a couple weekends ago, the free posing one, I asked people how many people do a planning call with their clients, and like nobody did except for 3 girls. And no matter what the pricing looks like for you, whether you're charging $400, $600, or $2,000 plus, having a planning call is an easy way to add to a customer experience. And this can be if you really are limited with time, which now you won't be because it's freed up from you not over delivering. You can do this once somebody is actually your client. They're on the books. But you could also do like a discovery call before somebody books with you so that you can kind of vet and see the vibe and make sure that you guys are on the same page. But doing a planning call can take 20 minutes, usually 30 minutes if it's something like very intricate. And it's an easy way to make your client feel seen, heard, and taken care of. And it took you literally 20 minutes. And now you have that time available because you're not spending 3 additional hours working for free for yourself, delivering photos that they're not even going to print out. I believe in you and I believe in your business, and I want you to work smarter and not harder. I hope that this episode was able to help you in your pricing journey. And if you have any specific questions, I know that there's so much nuance to this conversation, but that's why I've created the Build and Bloom Photography Facebook group. It's a totally safe space for you to ask away. I hang out in there and try to answer as many questions as I can, and I would love to see you there. It's my best free resource. And don't forget to grab your freebie. It's a PDF guide on 6 things to do as you're raising your photography prices, additional things that I did not cover in today's episode. I know that it will bless your business. And like I said, I believe in you. I believe in your business. And thanks for listening to the Build and Bloom Photography Podcast. This podcast episode is brought to you by my Business Basics class. I teach you the 8 essential steps to get your business legal and legit so you can watch it bloom. You'll learn the basics of what is an LLC and the first steps to opening one up, opening a business bank account, how to find an accountant, what is bookkeeping and how can you do it yourself to save some money, what contracts and legal documents to consider and where you can buy them, the starting point for saving for your retirement, how to find a financial advisor, and where to start looking for business insurance. When you avoid getting all these ducks in a row, you are risking getting sued, paying more in taxes, and missing out on turning your income into more money. Head to jessicawhitaker.co/businessbasics to enroll.